The scorching Arizona sun beats down mercilessly on the dusty main street of Red Canyon, a forgotten town clinging to life at the edge of nowhere. The year is 1876, and the air shimmers with heat waves that dance like ghosts above the weathered wooden buildings. A lone tumbleweed rolls across the deserted street, the only witness to what's about to unfold. Bang! A gunshot shatters the oppressive silence. Sarah McKinnon crashes through the batwing doors of Murphy's General Store, her auburn hair wild with panic, her blue dress torn and dirt-stained. Behind her, 3 men in black dusters emerge like harbingers of death, their spurs jangling an ominous melody against the wooden planks. There she is. Don't let her reach the church. The voice belongs to Billy Sullivan, a wiry man with cold gray eyes and a scar that runs from his left ear to the corner of his mouth. His hand rests on the pearl handle of his Colt, fingers twitching with anticipation. Sarah stumbles, her breath coming in ragged gasps. She glances back once, terror written across her young face, then bolts toward the small white church at the end of the street. Her boots kick up small clouds of dust with each desperate step. "Please, God," she whispers, her voice barely audible above her pounding heartbeat. But God seems to have abandoned Red Canyon today. The church doors are locked. Sarah pounds on them frantically, her small fists making hollow sounds against the aged wood. "Father Martinez! Father Martinez, please!" Her voice cracks with desperation, but the church remains as silent as a tomb. Billy's laughter cuts through the air like a rusty blade. "Your daddy ain't coming to save you this time, little bird. And that Mexican priest? He's already said his prayers." He gestures to his companions, 2 brutish men who move with the practiced efficiency of professional killers. From a ridge overlooking the town, hidden among the red rocks and sparse desert vegetation, a figure watches through narrow dark eyes. Ayana, whose name means eternal blossom in the Apache tongue, remains perfectly still, his bronzed skin blending with the shadows cast by the ancient stones. His long black hair moves gently in the desert wind, and his weathered hands grip a Winchester rifle with the familiarity of a man who has known violence since childhood. He has been watching this town for 3 days, studying the movements of its inhabitants, waiting for the right moment to trade his pelts for supplies. But this is not what he expected to see. Down in the street, Sarah has stopped running. She stands with her back pressed against the church door, her chest heaving, cornered like a wounded deer. Her green eyes flash with defiance despite her fear. "My father will kill you for this, Billy Sullivan. You know he will." Billy's smile is devoid of warmth. "Oh, I'm counting on old Jack trying, sweetheart. That's the whole point." He produces a folded piece of paper from his vest pocket, yellowed and worn. "See, your daddy and me, we had ourselves a little disagreement about some gold. Union Pacific gold, to be specific." Sarah's eyes widen. She knows about the gold, the heist that went wrong, the betrayal that scattered her father's gang to the 4 winds. $20,000 in freshly minted coins, Billy continues, his voice taking on a sing-song quality that makes Sarah's skin crawl. "Hidden somewhere only Jack McKinnon knows. And you, my dear, are going to help me convince him to share." "I don't know where he is," Sarah says, lifting her chin with false bravado. "Haven't seen him in months." Billy's laugh is sharp and cruel. "Oh, but he'll find you. Blood calls to blood, as they say. Especially when that blood is in mortal danger." High above on the ridge, Ayana shifts position slightly, his trained eyes cataloging every detail of the scene below. The girl's courage impresses him, though he knows it won't save her. He has seen enough violence in his 28 years to recognize the look in Billy Sullivan's eyes. This man kills not just for money, but for pleasure. A memory flashes through Ayana's mind unbidden, his sister Itzel, barely 16, her lifeless body sprawled in the dirt outside their burning wickiup while blue-coated soldiers rode away into the dawn. The image burns like acid in his chest, a wound that has never healed. "Grab her," Billy orders his men. The larger of the 2, a bearded giant named Cutter, moves toward Sarah. She bolts to the left, but the second man, lean and quick as a snake, cuts off her escape route. Her scream pierces the desert air. Stop! The word tears from Ayana's throat before he can stop himself. The sound carries on the wind, causing Billy and his men to freeze, their heads turning toward the ridge like predators sensing a threat. Ayana curses silently in Apache. His exile from the tribe was supposed to teach him wisdom, to show him the folly of involvement in the white man's wars. But seeing Sarah's terror, hearing her cry for help, has awakened something primal within him that has nothing to do with wisdom and everything to do with the warrior's code burned into his very bones. Billy's eyes scan the rocky outcropping, searching for the source of the voice. Well, looks like we got ourselves a guardian angel. Why don't you come down here and introduce yourself, friend? Silence stretches between the ridge and the town like a taut bowstring. Sarah stands frozen between her captors, her eyes searching the rocks above. She has heard stories of the Apache, tales told in whispered voices around campfires. But she has never seen one, never looked into the eyes of a man her people call savage. The wind picks up, stirring the dust into small whirlwinds that dance through the empty street. Somewhere in the distance, a hawk cries out, its call echoing off the canyon walls. I know you're up there, Billy calls out, his hand now openly resting on his gun. Apache, ain't you? Can smell you from here. Why don't you just ride on back to whatever hole you crawled out of? This ain't your concern. From the shadows of the ridge, Ayana's voice carries down like distant thunder. The girl. Let her go. Billy's scarred face splits into a grin. Or what? You'll come down here and take her from 3 armed men? That's a lot of confidence for a man with a rifle who won't show his face. Sarah finds her voice. Please, she calls up to the ridge, her words carried on the desert wind. They're going to kill me. The admission hangs in the air like a death sentence. Billy backhands her casually, the sound of the blow echoing off the surrounding buildings. Sarah stumbles but doesn't fall, blood beginning to trickle from the corner of her mouth. On the ridge, something inside Ayana snaps. The Apache warrior rises from his concealment like a ghost materialized from stone and shadow. Even at this distance, his presence commands attention. He stands well over 6 feet tall, his powerful frame draped in buckskin and cloth, a bandolier of rifle cartridges across his broad chest. His face is a map of the harsh desert landscape, all sharp angles and weathered plains, but his dark eyes burn with an intensity that seems to reach across the space between ridge and street. Jesus, whispers Cutter, unconsciously taking a step backward. Billy's confidence wavers for just a moment, but his greed is stronger than his fear. 3 against 1, Apache. Even your kind ain't that good with numbers. Ayana's response comes not in words but in action. The Winchester rifle appears in his hands as if by magic, the barrel catching a glint of sunlight as he brings it to his shoulder with fluid precision. The shot rings out across the desert, echoing off the canyon walls like rolling thunder. The bullet strikes the dirt between Billy's feet, close enough to sting his legs with flying pebbles. Next one goes between your eyes, Ayana's voice carries clearly down to the street. Choose. For a heartbeat, time seems suspended. The 4 figures in the street stand frozen like figures in a diorama, while on the ridge above, the Apache warrior has become as motionless as the ancient stones around him. Billy's mind races. He knows his reputation, knows the stories told about Apache marksmen. But $20,000 in gold is worth more than stories, worth more than fear. His hand moves toward his gun. Billy, don't, Sarah whispers, surprising herself. She doesn't know why she's trying to save the life of the man who wants to use her as bait for her father. Maybe it's because she's seen enough killing in her young life. Maybe it's because some part of her recognizes that the warrior on the ridge is her only hope of survival. Billy's hand freezes halfway to his weapon. In that moment of hesitation, Ayana makes his choice. The Apache warrior begins his descent down the rocky slope, moving with the fluid grace of a mountain cat. Each step is calculated, silent, bringing him closer to a confrontation that will change all their lives forever. Sarah watches his approach with a mixture of terror and fascination. This is the man her people fear, the warrior whose very name strikes dread into the hearts of settlers and soldiers alike. But as he draws nearer, she sees something else in his dark eyes, something that looks almost like her own pain, her own loss, reflected back at her across the vast divide of culture and prejudice. Billy's nerve breaks. "Take her," he shouts to his men. "Now!" Cutter lunges forward, his massive arms reaching for Sarah. She screams and tries to dodge, but there's nowhere to go. The church door remains locked behind her, and the street offers no sanctuary. But Ayanna is already moving, his powerful legs carrying him down the slope in great bounding leaps that seem to defy gravity. His rifle barks once, twice, the shots precisely placed to drive Billy's men back without killing them outright. Not yet. As Sarah is dragged toward the waiting horses, her eyes meet those of the descending warrior. In that instant, some unspoken communication passes between them. A promise. A vow. Billy mounts his horse, hauling Sarah up behind him. She struggles briefly, then goes limp, conserving her strength. Her green eyes never leave the figure of Ayanna as he reaches the bottom of the ridge. "Tell Jack McKinnon his little bird is in Eagle's Nest Canyon," Billy shouts, his voice carrying across the distance. 3 days, or she dies slow. The three riders thunder out of town in a cloud of dust and desperation, taking Sarah with them into the vast wilderness beyond. Ayanna stands alone in the empty street, his dark eyes following their trail until they disappear behind a distant mesa. The town of Red Canyon falls silent once more, as if the violence of the last few minutes was nothing more than a fevered dream. But the Apache warrior knows better. He knows that what just happened was only the beginning. Somewhere in those canyons and mesas, a frightened girl waits for rescue or death. And somewhere out there, Jack McKinnon will receive Billy Sullivan's message and face an impossible choice. But what none of them know yet is that choice has already been taken from them. Ayanna checks his rifle, counts his remaining cartridges, and begins to follow the dust trail left by the kidnappers. The sun is beginning its descent toward the western mountains, painting the desert in shades of gold and red. Night is coming to Arizona, and with it, a reckoning that will test the courage of a warrior, the love of a father, and the strength of a girl caught between two worlds she never chose. The hunt has begun. The desert night wraps around Ayanna as he moves silently through the maze of canyons, following the trail left by Billy Sullivan's horses. The moon provides just enough light to read the tracks in sand and rock. 3 hours since the kidnapping, and he's closing the distance. Eagle's Nest Canyon. A natural fortress with towering red sandstone walls and only one narrow entrance. Ayanna knows this place well, where his own people once made their final stands against the cavalry, where his sister's blood once stained the sacred stones. The irony burns in his chest as he rides to save a white outlaw's daughter in the place where Etzel died. Miles ahead, Sarah sits bound against a boulder, wrists cut by rawhide. Billy Sullivan methodically cleans his revolver across the campfire, each motion deliberate and threatening. "Your daddy's got quite the reputation," Billy says conversationally. "They say Jack McKinnon once shot 7 men in Tombstone without missing. We'll see about that." Sarah remains silent, green eyes burning with defiance. Cutter tends the horses while Snake keeps watch at the canyon entrance. The sound of hoofbeats echoes off the walls. A rider emerges from the darkness, Joaquin Martinez, one of her father's old gang members with cold eyes and a cruel reputation. "Heard you had trouble in Red Canyon," Joaquin says, settling by the fire. His gaze finds Sarah. "Jack McKinnon's little princess. Been a long time, Nina. What brings you here?" Billy asks carefully. "Thought we could work together, like old times." Joaquin produces whiskey, takes a long pull. "Heard you might be settling accounts with Jack." Sarah sees something pass between the men, some silent communication that chills her blood. This isn't just about money, it's personal. High above on the canyon rim, Ayanna lies flat against stone, watching through his rifle scope. 4 men now instead of 3. He counts weapons, studies positions, calculates angles. The canyon entrance is a death trap, but the walls aren't impossible for someone with his skills. He begins his descent, moving like a ghost through darkness. Below, the outlaws plan their trap for Jack McKinnon, unaware that death watches from above. Simple plan, Billy explains. Jack comes running, we trade the girl for gold, then kill them both. And the Apache? Joaquin asks. Billy laughs harshly. One Indian against 4 armed men? He's probably halfway to his reservation. But Joaquin shakes his head. You don't know Apache. If that warrior decided to follow, he's out there waiting. A sound echoes through the canyon, not quite human, not quite animal. Joaquin goes pale, hand moving to his gun. Just the wind, Billy says without conviction. Sarah's heart pounds. She's heard that sound in old-timer stories, the call Apache warriors use to communicate in darkness. Ayanna is halfway down when loose stone shifts. The sound is small but might as well be a gunshot in the desert night. Below, all 4 men freeze. There, Snake whispers, pointing toward the canyon wall shadows. Something moved. Billy draws his gun. Show yourself, Apache. Or the girl dies. Silence stretches. Then Ayanna's voice drifts from above, seeming to come from everywhere at once. She dies, you all die. Slowly. Joaquin crosses himself. Madre de Dios. Big talk for a man hiding in shadows, Billy calls back, sweat beating despite the cool air. The response comes in action. A perfectly aimed stone strikes Billy's gun hand, sending his weapon spinning into darkness. Another stone drops Snake unconscious before anyone can react. He's moving, Joaquin whispers, rifle scanning the walls. Circling us. Ayanna flows through darkness like water, using every shadow. This is what generations of Apache warriors taught him through blood and legend. Billy lunges for Sarah with a knife, desperate and furious. Enough games. Come down or I gut her. He grabs her hair, presses steel to her throat. Sarah feels cold metal, smells his sour breath. From darkness comes Ayanna's voice, closer now. Look behind you. Billy spins and stares into the Apache warrior's eyes. Ayanna stands beyond the firelight, holding an ironwood war club polished by generations. Impossible, Joaquin breathes. No one moves that quiet. Cutter swings his rifle, but Ayanna's war club whistles through air, connecting with skull. The big man drops without sound. Joaquin fires wildly, muzzle flash lighting the canyon. But Ayanna has rolled away, melting into shadows. Show yourself. Billy screams, pressing the knife harder. Blood appears on Sarah's pale throat. She closes her eyes, strangely calm. If death comes here in this sacred place with an honorable warrior trying to save her, it's more than she dared hope. Instead, she hears the whistle of thrown steel. Billy screams as Ayanna's knife buries in his shoulder, spinning him away from her. Ayanna emerges like an avenging spirit. The men grapple in firelight, rolling across rocky ground. Billy fights desperately, but Ayanna moves with controlled fury of lifetime training. Joaquin raises his gun for a clear shot, not noticing Sarah rolling toward the fire, reaching for a burning brand with bound hands. The fight climaxes when Ayanna gains advantage, hands closing around Billy's throat. But Billy draws a hidden derringer. Die, you red devil, he gasps, pressing the barrel against Ayanna's ribs. A gunshot echoes, but not from Billy's weapon. Joaquin staggers, clutching his chest. Behind him, Sarah stands with the burning brand, having used it to ignite his powder belt. Billy's distraction costs everything. Ayanna's grip tightens, and the outlaw's struggles cease forever. In sudden silence, Sarah and Ayanna look at each other across dying fire. Both breathing hard, both covered in dust and blood, both alive against all odds. Are you hurt? Ayanna asks, voice rough with exhaustion. Sarah shakes her head, unable to speak. He cuts her bonds with gentle precision, and she rubs circulation back into her wrists. Why? She finally asks. Why did you save me? Ayanna stares into the fire. Because I could not save my sister. Sarah nods, understanding. They sit together in flickering light, two souls from different worlds bound by violence and loss, courage and compassion. What happens now? Ayana looks up at star-filled sky. Dawn is hours away, but eastern horizon shows faint gray. Now you go home. Back to your life, your people. And you? He stands, gathering weapons, preparing to disappear into vast wilderness. I go where the wind takes me. As he turns to leave, Sarah calls out. Will I see you again? Ayana pauses at the firelight's edge, dark eyes reflecting flames. The desert is wide, but paths sometimes cross twice. Then he's gone, melting into darkness as silently as he appeared. Sarah no longer feels afraid. She has looked into a true warrior's eyes and found not savage brutality, but honor. As dawn begins painting canyon walls gold and red, Sarah McKinnon starts the long walk home, carrying a secret that will change her understanding forever. The outlaw's daughter has been rescued, but more than that, transformed. In the vast Arizona desert, an Apache warrior rides alone beneath morning stars, his honor intact, carrying memory of green eyes filled with gratitude and knowledge that sometimes the right choice is also the hardest choice. The wind whispers through Eagle's Nest Canyon, carrying their story into legend.